Nierenfield. I'm with the City of Austin Transportation Department, and we're pleased to share a little bit about our Plan4Health Austin Coalition project. This is a project in partnership with a number of city departments, as well as our transit agency, Capital Metro, and numerous community partners. Our project is centered up in North Central Austin, which is an area of great health disparity in our community. I'll take a moment to allow my co-presenter to introduce himself as well.
Hi, I'm Edwin Marty. I'm the Food Policy Manager with the Office of Sustainability in the City of Austin, and we are taking charge of a neighborhood food system planning process in conjunction with the active transportation piece led by transportation.
So we'd like to take you through the steps of our project and share with you a bit of the lessons learned in our Plan4Health experience. So our project is really looking to improve access to physical activity as well as healthy food, and we're doing that through the implementation of 2 best practices, and these best practices are being piloted for the very first time in the City of Austin, and we're really excited to be bringing them to the community, and we're grateful to be able to learn through this process how to do it well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the physical activity side, and we are looking to implement a Smart Trips program. This is an individualized travel training program that really encourages people to use active transportation, so transit as in the bus or rail, walking and bicycling to meet their daily mobility needs. We've developed a Smart Trips program with the North Central Austin community that really responds to the unique context of North Central Austin. And we are bringing resources to the community through a number of different strategies, including tabling events with the community, visits to primarily low-income properties to really encourage or reach a diverse group of people, and also through traditional mailing, which is a hallmark of the Smart Trips program. And then with the resources that we bring to folks through those means, we also are providing high-quality programming that helps to teach people how to use the bus, gives people resources for bicycle safety, and encourages people to walk both for exercise as well as to get to the store, medical facilities, the library, etc. So we're in the midst of implementing that now, and we're looking forward to seeing how we can increase physical activity by asking folks if their travel behavior has changed as a result of receiving these resources and participating in these programs. And I'll turn it over to Edwin to talk a little bit about the food side.
So we have developed a 3-step process for developing a neighborhood food system planning process. We developed a relationship with a graduate student at the beginning of this project who was able to do a best practice survey of neighborhood food planning across North America. So the first step was to get that report and review best practices from places like Vancouver and New York City. We were able to adapt some of those best practices into our strategies. These 3 strategies that we've developed, first of all, to develop an asset-based map of the food system in North Central Austin inside our target area. And this food system asset map includes where retail locations are for food, where food production sites are, such as community gardens and urban farms, and then to do some light analysis of those locations, specifically around the retail, which locations sold fresh produce, which locations accepted food stamps or SNAP, and then where were the emergency feeding shelters. So we've added all of those through GIS mapping into a comprehensive map that we now have. It's a pretty good snapshot of what the food system looks like, at least from the physical landscape. So next, after the development of the food system asset map, we've gone into the community outreach phase. That's sort of taken up the bulk of our planning process. And we're partnering with the University of Texas Public Affairs School of Public Affairs, the LBJ School, to garner resources such as graduate students. We have, I think, 12 graduate students that are working with us on this process to do outreach. And we basically divided our outreach strategies up into 3 different approaches. First one is focus groups. Second one is business surveys. And then the last is individual interviews with our contacts with the school system. So we have used a lens throughout the development of this outreach strategy where we are specifically targeting the community members that we feel are most negatively impacted by the existing food system. We recognize that even though we've narrowed the geographical focus of Austin down to this target area of North Central Austin, there's still far too many people in this area for us to individually contact each one, or really even do a more peripheral attempt at contacting the majority of people. So we picked this lens that we felt like was most appropriate for our work and most appropriate for the outcomes that we were looking for. So the the focus groups have looked at partnering with community organizations that are working with traditionally neighborhoods or community members that are most negatively impacted by the existing food system, such as immigrant or refugee organizations, public housing, and other minority community organizations. We've done approximately 12 focus groups and heard some very, very interesting information about their perceptions, the community members' perceptions of their food system and opportunities for improving their food system. Next, we've done business surveys where we contacted local retail outlets, utilizing our graduate students again, and have heard some very interesting information about why the retail outlets carry or don't carry certain types of food and the potential impacts on the community's ability to access fresh, healthy food. And then lastly, we're working on an individual basis with schools to hear from the principals and parent support specialists. So the next and final phase of our project will be the development of a neighborhood food plan. So we're going to be taking all of our outreach efforts and analyzing those over the next 3 months, utilizing our LBJ graduate students again. I'll be teasing out some common elements, things that we've heard that were common amongst all of our outreach efforts, and then looking at opportunities to develop a toolkit to match up the things that we've heard prioritized with potential resources to address those priorities that already exist within the city or that exist within our private partners. We'll then compile those opportunities or resources into a toolkit and distribute those to the community, while also looking for opportunities to organize action teams that can help implement some of the priorities and utilize the toolkit.
And now we'd like to share some of our lessons learned through the process. Certainly one of the biggest lessons learned is how important community outreach is to understanding a place-based initiative as deeply as possible, and making connections with both champions within the community leaders, individuals that spend a lot of their time for the betterment of their community. Getting to know them is important. Getting to know groups is very important. And then also understanding some of the systems level influences has been a critical part of our process. Also, we've learned that it takes a lot of time to develop programs from scratch, both in terms of content, relationships, and processes. And that can add unforeseen delay, but also help to build sustainability for future efforts. And I'll also add that it's really important to keep the desired outcome in mind. As we've developed each little detail of our project, we've had to really remind ourselves what are the goals of our program so that what we're doing at the detail level will result in the outcome we intend. And I'll turn it over to Edwin for additional lessons learned from the food side.
And I'll echo Laura on the transportation side of community engagement and outreach. So our motto at this point is that it's time-consuming and messy and challenging, and we now feel that if it's not time-consuming, messy, and challenging, we're probably doing something wrong. So just sort of accepting that that is not just a part of the process, but perhaps a critical part of the process, that this effort does take time, and it's not going to be real clear-cut, and it's not going to always easily reflect a Venn diagram or a simple chart. So we've also learned that it's critically important to meet people where they are, and it's critically important to honor community members' time and their existing community organizing efforts. We've made a specific effort to understand where community organizing is happening in our target area and to try to build our outreach efforts around where those existing efforts are happening, as opposed to we've had a couple of efforts where we tried to have focus groups as standalone meetings and those kind of things, and we found pretty quickly that that was not going to be a real successful strategy. People are busy, and especially when you try to target people who have limited resources, you're going to really have to be very conscious about meeting people where they are. And then lastly, developing partnerships. We couldn't be doing this work the way that we're doing it if we hadn't been able to build a relationship with the University of Texas Public Affairs School and find two great professors who are willing to help us organize their students and utilize their time. So tremendously important. And just as important, though, as the academic partnerships, the community partnerships. We've had great success partnering with our community centers that are embedded in the community and doing great work. And then as well as a wide swath of other community organizations doing great work. We are specifically, I think, benefiting from our lens that we've chosen to use, the lens of equity in terms of specifically trying to reach out to groups that are most impacted negatively by the existing food system. We're getting to a much deeper level of analysis than we would if we had tried to just do a very broad, sweeping, but shallow analysis of the community. So those are our lessons learned.
So thank you so much for hearing about our program. And our final parting note would be to encourage you to look at your peer cities and your peers for other models and things that that they may be doing that you are looking to implement, and that includes us. We're happy to be a resource for you in your efforts moving forward, and good luck.